Family finds dog laying on side of road, shocked when they discover to who he belongs. The Johnson family had been camping in the remote wilderness for the weekend, enjoying the tranquility and beauty of nature. As they drove back home, they noticed something small and furry lying by the side of the road. At first, they thought it was a squirrel or a rabbit, but as they got closer, they realized it was a dog. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing, and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. The dog was lying there motionless, and at first, the family thought he might be dead. But as they approached, they saw that he was still breathing, although barely. His fur was matted and dirty, and his eyes were closed. Without hesitating, the Johnsons stopped the car and rushed to the dog's side. They carefully lifted him up, and he let out a weak whimper. They saw that he was injured and had no collar, so they decided to take him to the veterinarian. The drive to the vet's office was tense and silent. The family was worried about the dog's condition, and they wondered what had happened to him. As they arrived at the clinic, they rushed inside and explained the situation to the staff. The veterinarian took one look at the dog and knew he needed immediate care. The family waited anxiously in the waiting room, hoping and praying that the dog would be okay. They were overcome with emotion as they thought about the poor animal lying there alone by the side of the road, injured and helpless. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the vet emerged from the operating room. She explained that the dog had been hit by a car and had several broken bones. She had performed surgery to repair the damage, and he was stable but would need to stay at the clinic for a few days to recover. The family was relieved to hear that the dog was going to be okay. They decided to visit him every day at the clinic, bringing him treats and toys to help him feel more comfortable. They grew attached to him, and even though they knew they couldn't keep him, they couldn't bear the thought of leaving him alone. As they sat in the waiting room watching the dog sleep, they wondered where he had come from. They speculated about who his owner might be and how he had ended up lying there by the side of the road. They couldn't help but feel curious and concerned about the dog's past. Little did they know, their journey to uncover the dog's story would lead them down a path filled with unexpected twists and turns. But for now, all they could do was wait and hope that the dog would make a full recovery. The Johnson family returned to the veterinary clinic every day to visit the injured dog they had found by the side of the road. They brought him toys, treats, and even some of their own clothing to help him feel more comfortable. The dog had begun to trust them and showed clear signs of affection. The Johnsons were growing attached to him and couldn't imagine leaving him alone again. As days went by, they realized that nobody had come to claim the dog. There was no sign of a collar, and no missing dog reports matched the description of the dog. They began to wonder what would happen to him if nobody came forward to claim him. The family talked about taking the dog in as their own, but they knew that wasn't the right thing to do. They had to find the dog's owner. So they took to social media, posting pictures of the dog and asking for anyone with information about him to come forward. They shared the post on various platforms, hoping to reach a wider audience. Days went by and the Johnsons began to lose hope of finding the dog's owner. They had become attached to him and didn't want to let him go, but they knew that they had to do what was right. They contacted local animal shelters and vet clinics, but no one had any information about the dog. Then one day, the Johnsons received a call from someone who claimed to be the dog's owner. They were ecstatic and relieved, but they were also cautious. They wanted to make sure that the person on the other end of the phone was really the dog's owner and not someone trying to take advantage of the situation. They arranged a meeting with the owner at a nearby park, where they could verify his identity. When they arrived, they were surprised to see a man in a suit waiting for them. He looked nothing like they expected the dog's owner to look, but they couldn't deny that the dog seemed to recognize him, and he was excited to see him again. The man explained that the dog had been given to his wife, but they had given him away to someone else because they couldn't take care of him anymore. He had been searching for the dog ever since, and he was overjoyed to have found him. The Johnsons felt relieved that they had found the dog's true owner, but something felt off about the man. As they were about to say their goodbyes, the man's phone rang. He answered it, and the Johnsons overheard a conversation that made their blood run cold. The man was talking about a deal that was going down, and the Johnsons realized that the man was involved in some shady business. They couldn't let the dog go back to such a situation. They knew they had to call the police, but they also knew that they couldn't do it themselves. They waited until the man had left and immediately drove to the police station to report what they had heard. As they arrived at the police station, they were filled with a mix of emotions: fear, anxiety, and relief that the dog was safe with them. They told the police everything they knew about the man and his connection to the dog. The police launched an investigation, and it turned out that the man was a wanted criminal who had been on the run for years. He had been involved in various illegal activities, including drug trafficking and money laundering. The police apprehended the man and charged him with several crimes. With the dog's owner in custody, the Johnsons knew that they couldn't return him to his previous owner. They decided to adopt the dog themselves and give him a new life filled with love and care. The dog, now named Lucky, had found his forever home, and the Johnsons knew that they had done the... As the police escorted the criminal away, the Johnsons realized that they had just played a crucial role in bringing a dangerous criminal to justice. They knew that they had made the right decision in reporting the man to the authorities, but they couldn't help feeling uneasy about the entire situation. After the dust had settled, they focused on Lucky, who had become a part of their family. They took him to the vet for a full checkup and started the process of getting him registered and licensed. Lucky was finally getting the love and attention he deserved. However, there was still one more thing they needed to do. They had to reach out to Lucky's original owner and let them know what had happened. They found the owner's contact information from their previous conversations and decided to call them. When the owner picked up, the Johnsons explained everything that had happened. They told him about the man they had met, the shady phone call they had overheard, and the subsequent arrest. They also explained that they had decided to adopt Lucky and that he was now part of their family. The owner was shocked to hear what had happened and grateful for the Johnsons' help. He explained that he had given Lucky to a friend to take care of, but his friend had lost track of him. He had been searching for Lucky for weeks and was relieved to finally know what had happened to him. The Johnsons promised to take good care of Lucky and invited the owner to come and visit him anytime he wanted. They had never met the owner in person, but they felt a connection to him through Lucky. They knew that he loved the dog, and it must have been a difficult decision for him to give him away. A few days later, the owner visited them. He thanked the Johnsons for their help and expressed his gratitude for taking care of Lucky. As they talked, the Johnsons realized that the owner was a kind and generous man who had fallen on hard times. He had lost his job and was struggling to make ends meet. The Johnsons were touched by the owner's story and decided to help him out. They offered to pay for his rent and groceries for the next few months and even offered to help find him a new job. The owner was overwhelmed with gratitude and thanked them profusely. As they spent time together, the Johnsons realized that they had formed a unique bond with the owner. They had both loved and cared for Lucky, and they had both been through an emotional roller coaster because of him. They knew that they would stay in touch and that Lucky would always be a symbol of their connection. In the end, Lucky's story had a happy ending. He had found a new home with the Johnsons, who had saved him from a dangerous situation. He had reunited with his original owner, who had been searching for him for weeks, and he had brought two families together, who had never met before but had been united by their love for a dog. Lucky had truly lived up to his name, and the Johnsons knew that he would always be a part of their family. The Johnsons and the owner of Lucky continued to keep in touch, and their relationship grew stronger with each passing day. The owner was grateful for the Johnsons' generosity, and he had found a new job and was back on his feet again. He even invited the Johnsons over to his new place for dinner, and they spent an evening laughing and reminiscing about Lucky. As for Lucky, he had settled into his new home with the Johnsons and was thriving. He had plenty of toys to play with, long walks to go on, and a family that loved him unconditionally. He was no longer the scared and abandoned dog they had found on the side of the road. The Johnsons decided to throw Lucky a birthday party, inviting all their friends and family, including the owner. They set up a big table with all kinds of dog treats and toys, and everyone sang happy birthday to Lucky as he wagged his tail excitedly. During the party, the Johnsons received a phone call from the police department. They were informed that Lucky's owner had completed his sentence and was being released from prison. The Johnsons were conflicted about how to feel about this news. On one hand, they were happy that he had served his time and was getting a second chance. On the other hand, they were still wary of him and unsure if he would be a positive influence on Lucky. A few days later, the owner came to visit Lucky again. He apologized for the trouble he had caused and thanked the Johnsons for everything they had done. He promised that he had turned his life around and that he was committed to being a better person. The Johnsons could see the sincerity in his eyes and decided to give him a chance. They allowed him to spend time with Lucky under close supervision and were happy to see the joy on Lucky's face when he was reunited with his original owner. Over time, the owner continued to prove himself. He found a new job, started volunteering at a local animal shelter, and even took some classes on dog training. He became a responsible and caring pet owner, and the Johnsons could see that he truly loved Lucky. As the months passed, the Johnsons and the owner became good friends. They would often meet up at the park, with Lucky happily playing between them. They would talk about everything from life to their shared love of dogs. One day, the owner approached the Johnsons and asked if they would consider letting him adopt Lucky back. He explained that he had finally gotten his life together and that he had a stable home and job. He promised that he would take good care of Lucky and that he would never let anything bad happen to him again. The Johnsons were torn. They loved Lucky and had grown attached to him over the months, but they also knew that he had a strong bond with his original owner. They talked it over and decided that they would let Lucky choose. They took Lucky to the park and watched as he ran back and forth between them and the owner. After a few minutes, Lucky made his choice. He ran over to his original owner and licked his face, tail wagging furiously. The Johnsons knew that it was the right decision. They hugged the owner and promised to keep in touch, and Lucky happily walked away with his original owner. As they watched Lucky disappear into the distance, the Johnsons knew that they had played a part in bringing two families together. They had given a second chance to a dog who had been abandoned on the side of the road and helped his original owner turn his life around. They knew that they had made a difference, and that was all that mattered. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching. See you next time.